Happy Friday morning, artists. This is Beth Cooper coming at you with our desert scene. Today is the day that we're going to combine all of the elements that we've created during the week into one complete picture. Don't forget that you need a few materials to get started. If you haven't already, go ahead and sharpen your pencil. Have that sharpener handy just in case you need it. It always works best to draw with a sharpened pencil. Then you're going to need an ink pen later on. After we've drawn everything onto the page just the way we want it, we're going to ink it in. And then, of course, once it's all completely dry, then you are going to want to go back and erase everything. Now, before we get started again on drawing our final drawing, I want to make sure that we talk about the illusion of depth. We've talked about this in our other drawings too when we did our camping scene, but I want to make sure that you remember that we are going to be drawing objects that are going to look like they're further away and then objects that are closer to us. So things in the foreground are going to be larger in size, they're going to be lower on the page, and some of the things are going to overlap so that the things that are in front will look like they're coming at us and the things that are behind are going to look like they're further away. And we're going to draw things from the horizon and working towards us. So the smaller objects are smaller, they're going to be closer to the horizon, they're going to be further away from us. The things up close are going to be bigger. So let's go ahead and get started with our horizon line again. This time our horizon line is not just going to be a straight line, but we're going to create some of these beautiful shapes that we did over here, some of those those mountain formations that you would see possibly if you were in the desert. And I'm going to start by just drawing kind of that first wavy, kind of wobbly line like this. Kind of go to the end of your pencil, and you don't have to hold it tightly, and you're going to just kind of draw this irregular shape. And then behind that also I'm going to draw another kind of irregular. These are going to be more of the mountain kinds of formations back behind, like this. This is going to be, I think we're going to do a sunrise instead of a sunset on this design because it's not safe to go hiking in the desert at nighttime. So unless you're a really skilled hiker, I don't think that would be a wise idea. So we kind of have this vista going on, and we're also going to put a few more dividing lines on our page. So we're going to do another one that's not quite as sharp and ragged, kind of through here, like this. That's going to help divide our foreground and our background and our middle ground. And then we're going to do another one that kind of goes like this. And look how much softer, it's not nearly as angular as the ones behind it. And it's just going to help us to divide our page. Then back in the back, like I said, we're going to do a sunrise. And we're going to do just a sun peeking out from behind like this. And remember, our clouds are going to be these nice wispy kinds of clouds, flatter on the bottom, kind of high and thin like this, so that when our sun is rising, it's going to have some beautiful clouds to kind of reflect onto all of these beautiful pinks and yellows and oranges that you find in a sunrise or a sunset. And then our rays are going to go out from our sun like this. And we're not going to go through the clouds. When we hit a cloud, we're just going to pick up our pencil and go beyond like that. Kind of create straight lines going out from there. All the way out to the edge, like that. Okay, so that's going to be our beautiful sunrise. We're going to hike in the morning. Okay, now we're also going to add a road in here, but the road is not going to be just one complete road. It's going to kind of look like it's disappearing behind these hills. So we're going to start back at the back, and we're going to make a curve like this, curve our road around like this, and then we're going to stop when it hits one of those divides that we've come to, and then we're going to kind of pick it up in a different place and make it curve around like this. And as it gets closer to us, it gets bigger, like this. And then we're going to, again, when we get to that dividing line that we've created, we're going to stop again. And then it looks like it's coming up over the hill. We're going to make one coming out like this. Bigger as it gets closer to us. like that. So this is kind of a path. It's not really a big road. Maybe this is the place where we go hiking. So that's going to be not too big. And then we talked about rocks. We're going to add a big rock here in the front. This is where we're going to set all of our hiking gear. So remember, our rocks are kind of ragged and jaggedy like we've done our background. So we're going to do 2 of them, I think, like right in here. Let's go ahead and put, not really cloud formation. Remember, we don't want it to be too rounded. We want these to be rough. To set some stuff on. And again, hold your pencil further away from the tip, and that's going to help you to kind of loosen up a little bit and not have as much control over your line. That's a good one. And then I'm going to put another one over next to it like this, maybe a smaller one. And just kind of make it kind of ragged, like that. Okay, that's 2 good rocks. All right. Now, before we get into putting things in the background, we're going to actually add some important things in the foreground just to make sure that we have enough room for them. Oh, I forgot one more over here. I wanted to make kind of this vista like this. Just one more stone right there. Okay? All right, so big plants that we want to put in the foreground. I want to make sure that I have room for my saguaro cactus, and on top of that we're going to put the owl. So we want to have this open space over here for our cactus. So let's go ahead and do that. Remember, we start with 1 spike. Sometimes these cactus don't ever grow arms, but in this case we're going to make sure that our saguaro has some arms because I think they're more interesting that way. And they actually can grow many arms over a lifetime, but ours is just going to have 2 like this. Okay? And remember, then we want to make these ribs that go down it, and that's where our spines are going to be, like that. That's where our thorns are going to be. And then at the top, I'm going to put a few flowers. Remember, those start as U shapes. Just draw a little U shape like this, and then do a little wavy line across the top. So this desert is in bloom. Excuse me. And then over here on this side, I want to put a one of the other cacti that we talked about, the agave. And let's see, I want to put it kind of behind these rocks. So I'm going to start from here. I'm going to make that those first kind of points like this. Remember, they start as teardrop shapes. I think that looks good. And then we just kind of put a few behind like that. And that will leave us enough room then to have our spike that's going to go up this way. And I'm not going to make it too tall because I don't want it to encroach in this space here. I have something planned for that space up there. So let's go ahead and draw it out sort of like a tree. And then on top of that, just kind of a few bumps to imitate the flowers. Now we'll go back in and add the thorns later on when we are doing our inking in, but for right now we're just kind of roughing everything in to make sure we like the placement of it and where we have everything drawn. Okay, so now in the background there is only a certain altitude that these saguaros like to grow in, and so really it's going to happen right around this space in here, not too high, not too low, and you can put as many as you want to back in there. And also I want to make sure that we get some barrel cactus and some prickly pears in there because I think those are beautiful as well. So I'm actually going to draw, I think I'm going to put a prickly pear, or excuse me, a barrel cactus down right here. Let's go ahead and do that. And remember, they kind of start like a pumpkin, like that, drawing the ribs around like that. And we want to make sure that we get some flowers on top of that. They grow sort of like a crown around the top of the barrel cactus, like that. And I'm going to put a prickly pear back in here just to make sure that we don't forget to draw some in, because we want some variety. There is lots of beautiful variety out in the desert, and we want to make sure that we get those in there. And then on top of those, we're going to draw some little prickly pear, the apples, the cactus apples. And let's go ahead and put a flower in here too. Now this would be off in the distance. We really probably wouldn't be able to see this flower that big, but we're going to just pretend like we can see it from there. Okay? Okay, now let's go ahead and fill in the background. I'm going to put a bunch of just the spiky kind of cactus. Some of them are going to have arms and some of them are not. Like this. And you can put as many in there as possible. Now remember, the further away an object is, the less detail that it's going to have. So you can decide how much detail you want yours to show. Now, there is a cactus, or a kind of a plant out in the desert that we didn't talk about, but it makes kind of an interesting variety in this drawing. It's called an ocotillo, and when it's dry, it doesn't have any flowers or plants on it or leaves on it. It just looks sort of like that. Okay, so it doesn't have a whole lot to it, which is why it's so easy to draw, and it makes it more interesting. Just kind of these wavy lines. It's really just the kind of the skeleton that's left after the leaves are dried and after the flower is gone. And let's go ahead and draw a few more barrel cactus in here. Don't forget to draw a few in with some flowers. Like that. This is the further away they are, the smaller they are. If they come up closer, then you're going to want to draw them a little bit bigger.